Tesla is the shining example of applying the bitter lesson to real world AI. And I think there are a lot of people who understand that dynamic, and they see that, Tesla's already run away with their collecting the most real world driving data of anyone by far. They're continuing to collect more, and then they already have the biggest compute cluster that's dedicated to training an advanced driver that is AI powered and AI based. And that cluster just keeps on growing, and there's no end in sight.
So we've got the first one. We've got Elon being interviewed at the Qatar Economic Forum, powered by Bloomberg. We'll watch that video today, but he said a number of things. So what I'll do is I'll play the video and then we'll pause it and then listen in to get your opinion on it as we play it.
Welcome to Qatar Economic Forum. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, thank you, and very pleased to have you with us. Among those here in the audience in Doha are some you will know, people who have backed you financially over the years. Since you last spoke here in 2022, a lot has changed in your life. You're not only running multiple companies, you were doing that then, but now you also have a role in government. So first of all, I hope you won't mind if from time to time I have to move you from one topic to another, because we have a lot to cover in the time we have. That will be all right? Okay.
Yeah,
well, let's start then with exactly the fact that you now have this combination of being a CEO and having a role as a government advisor. Tell me about your week. How does it work? What's the split of your time?
Well, I travel a lot. So I was in Silicon Valley yesterday morning. I was in LA yesterday evening. I'm in Austin right now. I'll be in DC tomorrow. I'll be there. Having dinner with the president tomorrow night, I believe. And then a whole bunch of cabinet secretary meetings, and then back to Silicon Valley on Thursday night.
But I mean, the balance of your time, is it, well, clearly it's a lot, but is it still the case, as you said a while ago, that it's about 1 to 2 days a week on your government work?
Yeah, that's correct.
And what does that mean for your corporate life? Because if we start with Tesla, the company has suffered in recent months what you've called blowback. So what is your plan for turning that around, the declining sales picture? And by what stage do you think you're going to be able to turn it around?
Oh, it's already turned around.
Give me some evidence for that. I've just been looking at the sales figures for Europe in April, which show very significant declines in the big markets.
Europe is our weakest market. We're strong everywhere else. Our sales are doing well at this point. We don't anticipate any meaningful sales shortfall, and obviously the stock market recognizes that, since we're now back over $1 trillion in market cap. So clearly the market is aware of the situation. So it's already turned around.
But sales still down compared to this time last year?
In Europe.
In Europe, okay. And
yes, but that's true of all manufacturers. There's no exceptions.
Does that mean that you're not going to be able... Does that mean...
European market is quite weak.
Okay, but you would acknowledge, wouldn't you, that what you are facing, okay, let's just take it as Europe, what you are facing is a significant problem. This Tesla was an incredibly aspirational brand. People identified with it. They saw it as being at the forefront of the climate crisis, and now people are driving around with stickers in their cars saying, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy.
And there are also people who are buying it because Elon's crazy, or however they may view it. So yes, we've lost some sales perhaps on the left, but we've gained them on the right. The sales numbers at this point are strong, and we see no problem with demand.
So what?
Yeah, we pause it there. Great interview. I'm enjoying Elon basically confirming that we don't see any meaningful drop in sales forecasts. He said that, yes, sales were down, but only in Europe. But that's because all the vehicles, all the car makers are struggling there because of the economy. And that, he's also got people on the other side buying the car if one side dropped it. So he's basically confirmed the things we've been waiting for. What did you get out of that conversation?
Personally, I hate this interviewer, but I know that a lot of the viewerships, she's asking questions that a lot of people want answers to, But the thing is, like, the missing context here is just glaring. She didn't mention anything about the fact that they're switching over from new model, the old Model Y to the new Model Y. The Model Y sells far more vehicles than the Model 3. So, of course, the switchover of a Model Y is going to impact sales more than the switchover of the Model 3 did last year. And then to Elon's point that he brought up, this is true of all the automakers in Europe. And so, like, if you're trying to take this cherry picked data point and say that, this brand damage against Tesla is this awful thing because of this data that's taken out of context, and you're leaving so many important details out of the conversation, is frustrating. Now, of course, that is the narrative that the mainstream media has been pushing. And of course, she is trying, I don't know, like, is she trying to advance that narrative, or is she allowing Elon the opportunity to debunk the narrative? I don't know. Either way, I didn't learn anything here, and I feel somewhat dumber having watched it. But I know a lot of people are going to enjoy the fact that, yes, Elon is saying that these problems are fine. Don't worry about them. We're moving forward. Sales are strong, and at least strong enough to keep the factories all running and producing cars. And I mean, I think I would maybe somewhat take issue with Elon saying that the market is saying that Tesla is fine as a company when it comes to the auto business itself. That's not my read on the market right now. I think the market is saying we actually believe that Tesla's going to execute on their AI ambitions, and we're willing to start paying ahead for that because all of the leading indicators look like they're in good shape. We'll talk about this some more later, but like, they have the data, they have the compute, they're executing on continuing to improve the quality of the product. There's this thing in AI called the bitter lesson that was penned by Richard Sutton. And the bitter lesson says that you can get as fancy and smart as you want to, trying to make an AI system, like putting human expertise into an AI system and using lots of tricks and workarounds. And that's approach will always lose to the one that just bets on the fact that Moore's law is going to give you way more compute over time. And then if you combine that with gathering way more data and you let the algorithms figure out what the best approach is, instead of try to follow what the best approach through a human lens would be, that situation is always going to win. And this is, the bet that DeepMind made with their AlphaGo and AlphaZero programs. It's like the better systems that they made always leaned with, it was like, we're going to let it do all compute and all data, and that's going to beat the best humans. And then we're going to figure out how to do that even more. And then that one's going to beat the first system that we came up with. And then we're going to do it even more. And that one's going to beat the second system that we came up with. And so this is the bitter lesson. And Tesla is the shining example of applying the bitter lesson to real world AI. And I think there are a lot of people who understand that dynamic, and they see that, Tesla's already run away with their collecting the most real world driving data of anyone by far. They're continuing to collect more. And then they already have the biggest compute cluster that's dedicated to training an advanced driver that is AI powered and AI based. And that cluster just keeps on growing. And there's no end in sight. That Elon just keeps talking about bigger and more. And, he's talking about trying to bring online a data center that's a terawatt of compute. Now, he didn't say specifically whether that's for XAI or whether that's for Tesla. It kind of doesn't matter either way. Like, we're not stopping this train of more data, more compute. And the more data, more compute thing is the thing that wins out in the end. And it's the most scalable, it's the most powerful approach. And so I think the market is, for the most part, saying, yeah, we believe that that's what's going to happen. We're not going to reward you too much too far in advance. Like, we do want to see some execution, but the valuation of Tesla at this point in time, to me, it looks like it's the vast majority of it is based on the AI potential of Tesla as a company. And so, I don't know that I would read that from Elon's perspective as the market saying, hey, the auto business is in great shape. Because I don't think that that's the case. I think the auto industry in general is not in good shape. And so if Tesla were being valued on their auto business solely, that would be, something scary. But if you flip that on its head and say, yeah, maybe the old legacy auto business model is dead, but the robotaxi business model, now that is exciting. That's where I think that, we're going, and that's what I think the market is giving some credence to for Tesla specifically.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for that post that you made on X. I thought that was great. The bitter lesson, this idea that simplicity sometimes is more often than not the answer, and others are just totally complicating it. Okay, so you're absolutely correct. I mean, us Tesla investors who follow the company closely, none of us really felt that the company was struggling. We knew the way to look at it. It is nice, though, to hear Elon say these things that he said, right? He said this, he said, these, we've already turned around. Europe is our weakest market because Europe as an economy is struggling. All automakers are struggling there. We are strong everywhere else. Just to him say this, that things have turned around and things are moving forward, that's great to hear. And then with the stock, he said our stock wouldn't be trading near all-time highs if things weren't in good shape. Don't worry about it. And I think that he was not only just referring to the auto industry, but still, right? The general investors are thinking Tesla stock is crashing because nobody wants to buy the cars anymore. He's saying, no, that's not the case. That's turned around already, not an issue anymore. But now we're set up for these things you were talking about. Okay, let's watch the rest of the video here. There's some big ones, big comments he made. He talked about his commitment to being Tesla CEO for these next 5 years, and he talked about the compensation plan. These are things that are coming up shortly with the shareholder vote, the shareholder meeting that they haven't yet announced. But let's watch what he says here.
And I mean, you can just look at the stock price. If you want the best inside information, the stock market analysts have that, and our stock wouldn't be trading near all-time highs if it was not, if things weren't in good shape. They're fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I was citing sales figures rather than share price. Well, tell me then how committed you are to Tesla. Do you see yourself, and are you committed to still being the chief executive of Tesla in 5 years' time?
Yes.
No doubt about that at all.
Well, no, I might die.
Okay, short of that.
I can't be CEO if I'm dead. So there's a slight amount of
Does that mean that the value of your pay doesn't have any bearing on your decision?
Well, that's not really a subject of discussion in this forum. I think obviously there should be compensation for, if there's something incredible is done, that compensation should match that something incredible was done. But I'm confident that whatever some activist posing as a judge in Delaware happens to do will not affect the future compensation.
This is the judge who twice struck down the $56 billion pay package that was awarded to you. I think the value on the current value of stock options. Yeah.
Not a judge. The activist who is cosplaying a judge in a Halloween costume.
Okay, that's your characterization. I think yes. On the current value of stock options, I think the actual
justice according to the law.
On the current value of stock options, I think the value of that pay package stands at about $100 billion. Are you saying you are relaxed about the value of your future pay package? Your decision to be committed to Tesla for the next 5 years, as long as you are still with us on this planet, is completely independent of pay?
No.
It's not independent. So pay is a relevant factor then to your commitment to Tesla?
A sufficient voting control such that I cannot be ousted by activist investors is what matters to me. And I've said this publicly many times. But let's not have this whole thing be a discussion of my alleged pay. It's not a money thing. It's a reasonable control thing over the future of the company, especially if we're building millions, potentially billions of humanoid robots. I can't be sitting there and wanting to get tossed out by, for political reasons, by activists. That would be unacceptable. That's all that matters. Now let's move on.
Okay. Well, just one question.
Now let's move on.
Well, one question before we move on to other companies, which is that I wonder if some of what has happened to Tesla in the last few months, did you take it personally?
Yes.
And did it make you regret any of, or think twice about your political endeavors? Because it is.
I did what needed to be done. The violent antibody reaction, and I'm not someone who's ever committed violence, and yet massive violence was committed against my companies. Massive violence was threatened against me. Who are these people? Why would they do that? How wrong can they be? They're on the wrong side of history, and that's an evil thing to do. To go and damage some poor innocent person's car, to threaten to kill me. What's wrong with these people? I've not harmed anyone. So something needs to be done about them, and a number of them are going to prison, and they deserve it. And more will.
You're referring to the attacks on Tesla showrooms, but I think
Firing bullets into showrooms and burning down cars is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Those people will go to prison, and the people that funded them and organized them will also go to prison. Don't worry.
But wouldn't you?
We're coming for you.
Wouldn't you? But wouldn't you acknowledge that some of the people who turned against Tesla in Europe were upset at your politics, and very few of them would have been violent in any way. They just objected to what they saw you say or do politically.
Well, it's certainly fine to object to political things, but it's not fine to resort to violence and hanging someone in effigy and death threats. That's obviously not okay. That's absurd. That is in no way justifiable at all, in any way, shape, or form. And some of the legacy media nonetheless have sought to justify it, which is unconscionable. Shame on them.
Oh, good. So again, I'm glad that he actually said what he did have to say. Violence is not justifiable. Pretty obvious. And then his talk about the compensation plan, that he's already repeated what he wants to say there. But it's good that he said it again.
Yeah, it's good for people to be reminded of these things. And I think, do you remember the quote from Michael Jordan about one of the reporters asked him about something that had gone on. He's like, how do you interpret that? He's like, oh, I took that personally. And, Michael Jordan was one of those people that he just took everything personally, and he internalized it and he used it as fuel to execute on becoming the greatest of all time when it comes to basketball. And I think that's the type of energy, like that's the vibe that I get from this segment of the conversation from Elon, is that yes, he takes these attacks personally. He's acting within the boundaries of the system of law in how he deals with them. But that this does fuel his resolve. Like, he was asked if he regretted his political involvement, and his response was, I did what needed to be done. I think that's this is one of the points that he's made in a number of other places, that if Western civilization is not healthy and thriving, that a lot of his other ambitions are pointless, that you can't really settle Mars, you can't create a future of sustainable abundance if society itself is crumbling in on itself. And so he's taken the set of actions that he felt like were necessary in order to preserve society so that the light of human consciousness can be preserved. And while that does sometimes entail some short-term pain and being subjected to this type of political persecution, those are, while frustrating, small prices to pay in order to be able to accomplish his big long-term missions and goals for a thriving future for all of humanity. And so that, that's one of the things that brings a lot of us towards Elon and makes, a lot of people fans of him, is that he's willing to experience sacrifice, He's willing to work harder than other people to accomplish the missions. He's willing to endure more pain than most people to accomplish those missions. And that's one of the things that makes him such a brilliant executor on these plans, and someone who can do these things that for most of us would be absolutely superhuman, to actually bring these technologies forward into our day and time, when it could easily be, if he wasn't doing the things that he is doing, it's very possible that it could take an extra 10, 20, 50, 100 years for those technologies to actually exist.